You want to do the intro on this one, or you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, what? There's our intro right there.
Right.
Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylie. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Elite Life Podcast with Trisha and Kylie.
Yeah, we're both here today. We showed up
showed up.
because you can't get it done if you don't show up, and you got to show up if you want to get it done.
So true. All right, so I am actually really excited about this episode because I get super fired up.
Oh my goodness. This is
Super fired up about this situation.
This topic is very clearly something that's very near and dear to our hearts. But even though we are going to be talking about, we can't call it mom guilt because I'm sure daddies feel it too. And we have to be politically correct. So we'll call it parent guilt.
Yeah.
But I feel like you don't have to be a parent to feel guilty about areas of your life that you might be rejecting, or not rejecting, but neglecting while you're just busy pouring into, the other buckets. There's only 100% of yourself, and there's always more buckets, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that especially today with having social media, it's such a great tool to be able to help you connect with family that's out of state and out of area. But unfortunately, it becomes more of a
Keeping up with the Joneses situation.
A tool for guilt and shame, right? Guilt and shame. Here, let me just pile this on you via Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, right? Like, no matter how much you feel like you're winning, the quickest way to feel like you're losing is to jump on Facebook or Instagram, right? Like,
yeah, and the hard part to remember is like, especially like, I know I do this a lot where, like, for example, with like the volunteering, we've talked about this before, volunteering at the school, going on field trips. And like, that's why I got into real estate, so that I could have more control over my schedule. I wouldn't have to ask anybody permission to take the day off, so that I could go be with my child and make memories and establish those core memories. But, I noticed that at the school that my girls go to, it's like the same 6 to 8 moms who are volunteering on pizza day, volunteering on sub day, volunteering on hot dog day, and running the school picnic. And I had to come to a place where I was like, it's fine for them to do that. It's fine. I thank them and I bring them treats.
yeah.
Because I'm super thankful that, because I'm not able to do it because let's be interested. I'm just not that person. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
Or I'm just busy. Like, we have stuff going on, and especially last minutes, like your buyer calls you and they're like, "Hey, this house just came on the market. I want this house more than anything in my whole entire life. Take me to see it." You have to get them in, especially in this market, right friggin' now.
Right. And I think that the first thing, like, let's talk about this first. As moms, and like you said, it is parents, but let's be realistic. Moms get it more than anybody else.
Oh, preach.
And that's why I get upset about it, because I have put a ton of hours into my career and my job. And now, as a coach and a mentor and a trainer, new agents will come to me. Usually they're young moms with young kids, and they'll be like, "Trish, like, when you first got started, how did you keep balance?" And I'm always like, well, I'm the last person to ask that, because I didn't keep balance. Like, don't get me wrong. I used to every Monday I did hot dogs at Trent's school. Trent and Angelina went to private school, and at private school, it was a small little school. So the mom who was the lunch lady for the day would come in, they'd cook the food. So every Monday I would come in, I would cook the hot dogs, I would serve the hot dogs. And it was funny because this little girl, she was like probably in kindergarten or first grade. She was actually the one who helped me gain some perspective. She like came in, she comes through my little line, she's got her big old giant glasses on, and she's like, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey." And she's like, I wish my mom could volunteer, but she has a job. And I was like, I also have a job. And I went into the office after that because the school was right by our old office. So I would like leave the office in the middle of the day, go do hot dogs, come back. And I was telling Andy the story, and he's like, yeah, but Trish, it's true. Like, you don't have to kill yourself trying to like work all day and be the hot dog mom and do this and do this and do this and do this and do this. He's like, that's not your purpose. Like, your purpose is to run this real estate company and mold and train these agents. And there are other women who their purpose is to be a stay-at-home mom and volunteer at those lunches. Like, let them have their time to shine. Don't feel like you have to say yes to everything. And I was like, you know what? That was one of the things I put on my I put it on my next 411 goal sheet. My goal was actually to say no to 3 things. And it was so funny because by doing that, the next thing I went to was like a practice for Toronto, hockey practice. And one of the parents were like, oh, we need a manager for the team. Trish, you could manage the team. And they all look at me and I go, no. And their face was like, did she just say no? And I was like, yeah, no, I don't have, because I legitimately don't have the time. I wasn't able to grow my business because I kept saying yes to
Other
volunteering
things.
at skating and volunteering to manage the team and volunteering to do the hot dogs. And exactly what I was told was, you know, if you don't do it, like someone else is going to do it. And you know what? Someone else did it and someone else continues to do those things and everything is fine. And I'm able to grow my business, which is my purpose and my passion. And I will tell you, not at one time after that was Trent like, oh, I really wish you came and made the hot dogs where I seen you for 5 seconds while I was coming through getting my ketchup, you know?
Right.
So like, yeah, it's nice if you can here and there, but you should not feel obligated that you have to be the person to do those things. You don't. Someone else is going to do it.
Yeah, and if you can and if you want to, do that shit.
Yeah.
Like, rock it out. And whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you have a job or whatever, like I said, I did a couple days. I went on a field trip. I volunteered for 2 lunches and that was it for me. I mean, I donated for like picnics and events and things like that. Like if they needed, paper plates and forks and stuff and whatever. But you're totally right. Like your purpose and your ability to shine, so to speak, is different from everybody else's. And one thing that I love that we've talked about before is when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So like I felt this real hard yesterday because like we were just talking about before we started the show, I got to the office at like just after 9. I left our office. I had meetings. I had 4 new leads. Remember at 411? You're like, what are you doing? I'm like, getting 3 new clients. I got 4. And so I worked those people. I literally left that office, went and did showings. I didn't get home till 8:30 at night. I spent an hour, maybe a little bit less, talking with the kids, getting them ready for bed, doing the snuggles, reading the books. And then I worked again, submitting an offer, 2 applications, and writing the notes for the show because why not do that I'm pretty sure the subject heading in that email was, it's 11:55 and I'm jacked on pre-workout. Let's go.
But that's what's important. Like, and that's the other thing. Don't let other people like shame you too. Like that's another thing where when I'm talking to agents, they'll be like, well, my mother-in-law makes me feel bad because they're like, you should be spending this time with the baby. That's garbage. And that lights me up too, because at no point in time would anybody ever be like, oh, that man's a bad dad because he works 80 hours a week. But everybody will come up and be like, oh, she's not a good mom. She's not spending 150 hours with her kid. That's garbage. That's garbage. It is 2022. Can we stop shaming others, especially women, for not spending 8,000 hours with their kids? If I am the one that decides to make a career and make the money and pay the bills, that should be no different than if my husband makes the money, pays the bills, and spends the time. As long as our kids are getting quality interaction and they're happy in life and they are thriving, take your guilt and what'd you write here? Shove it where the sun don't shine. Don't let other people guilt you, and don't guilt other people. Like, stop that shit. It's done. I'm done with it.
Absolutely. And one thing you said was like spending the time. So that's on our list of things that you can do to cope, right? Like, I used to have all of these feelings about the time that I was spending with my kids. So, and one thing you have pressed into my head and it finally stuck is your kids are not going to remember that you weren't at Hot Dog Day.
Nope.
What they're going to remember is you busted your ass for 7 days, getting the closing, showing the clients, making the money so that you could take them up north for 4 days, set your phone down and go experience. I mean, that's what we're doing in July. By the way, can you help me out with that? I need someone to cover my clients. But we're gonna go and we're gonna take them to Akiak Falls. They're gonna get to swim in the waterfalls. We're gonna pretend we're mermaids all day. Not even gonna lie, poor Ryan. But that's what it's about. My daughters appreciate 15 minutes of my focused attention, playing Barbies, braiding hair, putting on makeup, painting nails, than they would if we sat and watched a movie for an hour and I'm just like on my phone. Like, my kids will literally come up to me and be like, "You're done working now." But you also have to, in those moments where you're feeling guilty and you're like, "Shit, I suck," you have to remember your why. And feel free to share that with people. I've told my kids several times when they've come up to me and I'm working, they're like, "I need your attention right now. You have to watch my Michael Jackson dance or the whole house is going to burn down." And I've had to look at them and be like, "Listen, Casey, I understand. If you can give me another half hour, that's just 30 minutes because she can tell time now. Give me 30 minutes to finish my project. Don't interrupt me so that it's not going to take me longer. I can give you a whole hour of my time where I will put my phone down, shut the computer off. We will lock ourselves in the bedroom and you will have my full attention." But you have to understand, I'm doing this now so that you can have gymnastics class. You can go and, get your nails done. We can do all of these things. We can go on trips. We can do these things. We can't go and do those things if I don't do this right now, and we live in this instant gratification society. So when I'm doing that, I'm also teaching them patience and respect for other people's time. So multifold situation. Like, don't be afraid to share your why with your kids. Remind, the people around you why you're doing this. So many times we've talked about, like, my dad, "Why don't you get a real job? Why don't you get a real job?" Well, Dad, my why, one part of my why is to be able to spend more time with my family and to make more friggin' money with less time. Like, Dad, I can go and I can get a 40-hour a week at GM making $18 an hour until, of course, something gets shut down or there's this or that shortage and now I don't have a choice. Then, like, well, you're going to be working 50, 60 hours a week now. I hope you didn't enjoy your life, right? So that's definitely one thing to put on your list when you're feeling guilty. Say it out loud too. Be like, "I'm doing this for X. I'm doing this for Y. I'm doing this because of Z." And share that with people. When they're trying to shame you, be like, "Listen, you can take that and have this instead."
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because all the sacrifice I made in time, I realized that it was quality over quantity.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like you said, my kids do not remember that I didn't read them bedtime stories every night. You know what they do remember? The week we got in Hampton Beach every single summer. They always thought we owned 2 houses because before Airbnb was a thing, we would always go to Seabrook since I was 16 years old and rent a house and be on the beach for a week. And I carried that on with Trent. No matter how broken poor we were, somehow I got together enough money for 1 week every summer for us to go to, he called it his blue house. It was just a teeny tiny little half of a two family house. But
That's
we
a duplex, by the way, since
yes.
you're in real estate.
I don't know why that word would
wondering.
So half of a duplex that had 2 bedrooms, and me and Trent would go there. And actually, I do remember how I afforded it. I used to have friends come with, and they'd each pay for a room, and then I would have one room with me and Trent and his pack and play. But we got to spend a week on the beach with our family every single summer, no matter what. And that is Trent's favorite memory. There are no things that he feels like, "Oh, well, I wish I would have done this or that." All he remembers is every single summer we had the best time in Hampton Beach, and that was what mattered. And you know what else mattered was that I was able to make enough money to build my business and get him into hockey and keep him in hockey and make it so that all these doors were open for the rest of his life by working really hard, working a lot of hours, building my dream, building the ability to have a flexible schedule when he got older and it really counted, right?
Oh, it's kicked off.
Yeah, right. So when it got time to be able to drive him to Minnesota and Wisconsin and all these places, I was able to do that because when he was little and he was a baby, which he doesn't remember, I was working all the time, right? Like immediately Trent went into daycare as soon as he was old enough to go into daycare.
Yeah.
So like 6 weeks old? Here you go. Here's my baby.
I used to, with my girls, when I had I had a regular 9 to 5, like I did the same thing as soon as they were in daycare. And I used to feel super guilty because I would drop them off at 7:30 in the morning. And I would pick them up at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. And I would feel super guilty about like not knowing their cues and like, what did you eat today? When did you nap? And just having to figure all that out. So yeah, definitely don't let anyone shame you into that, and feel pride, not like prideful, but like be proud of like what you're working to build. Another way you can cope with this, that I wrote down is getting perspective. So kind of going back to, the volunteering, this is just an example that we both draw on, like whatever it may be in your own life. But like the volunteering, like, I have a girlfriend and she is a stay-at-home mom and she works so hard. I mean, between all of her kids, I mean, she's a total rock star, and we never have comparisons between, Kylie working and Amanda, working in the house. Like, I've asked her to marry me a couple of times because I think she's a great wife. But yeah, in never once have I ever felt like judged by her because she's able to, because that's what's important to her. She told me, she's like, Braxton's my last kid. And, I have the time and the resources to be able to volunteer once a week or, every single time someone needs somebody to fill in or whatever it is. And never once have I felt judged by her. But I mean, there have been instances where I've kind of felt judged by like maybe some of the other moms or the teachers or whatever. But like the perspective is you're not the center of everyone's world.
Yeah.
Most likely people are not being all judgy and catty about, oh, well, she only volunteered once, or, oh, if she volunteered more, she would know like where the whatever go in the lunchroom or whatever. Like, let it go, get perspective, and just ride on, man. Don't hold on to that. It's too much energy. It just takes too much work.
It is, because a lot of times you spend more time thinking about what you feel you're not doing than other people do. Like a great example is Angelina's school. When Trent and Angelina were both little and they both went to the same school at St. Paul's, and I had the time to do stuff there, then I did. Today, I have no time, and I have no shame about that. And when people try to I get kind of angry because her school defaults into emailing me or calling me. And I'm like, call her dad, email her dad. Her dad is the one that picks her up. Her dad is the one, like, we have a division in our household where like I do all the work stuff, Dave does all the Angelina stuff. That's what works for us. Do not call me and be like, hey, you need to get on parent-teacher conferences because you're the mom, and then we're going to shame and guilt you. Because I literally turn around and go, hey, I pay for Angelina to go to your school. You're with her more time than I am. So if there's a problem, you handle it. Right. And if you want to judge me for that, like, I don't care. Like, I give no cares.
0 Fs.
0. Because at the end of the day, like, how you feel about things has nothing to do with me. And I am not going to feel guilty about any of that because I provide an amazing life for my children. They have everything they need. They go everywhere they want to go. They do everything they need to do because I work hard. And they know that. They see me working from the time I open my eyes to the time I close my eyes. And they're good with that. They're happy with that because they understand the why. They understand that as a family unit, like, we have goals and we have a mission and we have a path, and everybody does what they have to do and brings the pieces they have to bring to make that work. Yeah. And my piece is work. And that's cool. That's what works for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I wrote down for coping is taking action. And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, if you're feeling guilty about not spending time with your kids or your mom or your dog, like I've seriously been feeling guilty because Tigger hasn't been on a walk in like a week. And I'm like, well, it's hot as balls outside from the moment you open your eyes. Yeah. So Tigger doesn't want to go for a walk anyways. Right. He gets down the road and he's like, Mom, it's hot. But set aside some time to do those things.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like we've talked about this so many times, like if you're living by a schedule, make the time. Like we all work with the same 24 hours, you know, and not everything has to be done every single day all the time. So, you know, I budget time in the evening because I came to a place where I was like, you know what, part of my why is spending time with my family. So there are days where I work till 1 in the morning, but if I wasn't such a damn procrastinator, that wouldn't happen as often as it does. You shut your mouth right now. But yeah, I budget time for Ryan and I to literally sit on the couch and watch TV. I budget time to snuggle the baby in the morning because that's what he does. He likes to wake up and he'll just lay on my chest. Mm-hmm. He will just be content for 20, 30 minutes just to lay there. I'll put on the news or I'll listen to a podcast or something or I'll, you know, whatever it is, but make the time, take the action so that you don't feel that yuckiness anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually just talking to Allie about this yesterday because she goes, do you have any conferences coming up? And I said, no. And she kind of looked at me and I was like, for the rest of this year, you know, last year I did my 52 competitions. That was very much about me. I spoke at conferences. That was very much about my work. I had made a point that this year was going to be very much about my family. So the whole first half of the year was Trent and his graduation and all of that stuff. And for the next half of the year, I have 7 trips booked. So me and Trent are going to Boston. We're going to Wisconsin. As a family, we're going to Jamaica. As a family, we're going to Hawaii. And then me and Dave are going to California and cruising the coast. And as a family, we're going to Florida next week. So even though I'm sitting here preaching how much I work and all of that, I also, like you said, make sure that I balance that out with, okay, if I've lacked in this bucket for quite some time, it's time to be able to set some time apart and pour back into that bucket, right? And when I go on vacation, like when we went to Turks and Caicos last summer, I would wake up an hour early so I could check my email, respond to all my stuff. And then my phone stayed in the room all day.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
All day, yep.
Did anybody die?
Nobody died.
Oh, nobody died. Oh, did the office burn down?
Nope.
Oh my God. Okay, good. Okay, so you're telling me that if we put our phones down for an entire day, nothing horrific is going to happen?
Nope. No,
oh,
I
okay.
I did it for Trent's grad party too.
I remember that.
Yeah, and
how many text messages did you have when you woke up the next morning and found your phone somewhere outside on those tables?
There was like 300 messages, but it was okay. It took me an hour. I got through it all. Everybody was fine. Everybody understood. Nobody died. Knew it was coming. Nobody died. Everybody was good. So, just to kind of recap that, because I know we're going a little longer than we planned, but get perspective. You're not that important. So the world will keep spinning, whether you volunteer for hot dogs or not. Stop trying to make the Pinterest cupcakes. Just grab some from frickin' Meijer and bring them.
Thank you.
Let
thank
the
you for saying
that. You do not have to home make food, people. You don't have to.
No.
You don't have to. Just go buy the stuff. That's why they have it for you to buy. It's okay. So get some perspective. Don't guilt others and don't let others guilt you. That's bullshit.
Take action.
Take action.
Make the time.
Take action. If you're feeling like, oh my goodness, it's been a really long time since I've spent some time with, for me, Trent, we went to dinner the other day, just me and him. It was really nice. Or Angelina, me and her go shopping together or go get our nails together. Like I always make sure when I really feel like it's taken a long time, take some action, spend an afternoon with them. Quality over quantity, people. They will remember quality moments over, a random sitting in front of the TV for a week long anytime.
Yeah.
And like you said, never forget your why. We're doing this for a bigger purpose.
Yes.
Our why isn't just so we can say, well, I was home with my kid every single day. That's great. What did you do during that day?
Yeah.
What did you do during that time? Does your daughter remember quality breakfast where you sat everything down and you had breakfast with her each morning? That's what's important because like you said, if you're just sitting on your phone all day, every day, that's not quality. They don't care. That's not memorable.
And then
something memorable.
I think too, like just adding this in because why not? Psychologically, I've been watching my family and I've been watching the kids and psychologically they're seeing you on your phone all the time. So number one, subconsciously, you're telling them, your phone is more important than spending time with them. And sometimes it is. And that's why I have to explain to my kids, like, I'm not on my phone scrolling Facebook. I am talking to people, trying to make some money so we can go do XYZ, ABCDEFG. So make sure that you feel comfortable. And if you don't have your why, let's chat about it. If you want to have a chat about what your why is, if you're not sure what your fire is or what the hell you're doing rambling around the earth, email me at Kylie, that's KYLEE at mystarsacademy.com. We can set up a time to chat. You can chat with me. If you don't like me, you can talk to Trisha, and that's fine. But let's help you figure that out. That way, when you get in these funks and you get in these moments and you're like, F everything, burn everything, you can remember why you're doing this, and you can confidently push that guilt off. So that's what we got for you people today. Quick and dirty. I hope you enjoyed it. You could take these with you. If you have any questions, I just gave you my email address. Hit that go back 10 seconds on the podcast and get that. Please share this episode. One thing I wrote down is I don't know who needs to hear this, but you never know who's going to need that boost, need some help, need some clarity, need some guidance. So please share this on whatever social media platforms you're on. And what else do we usually ask? Share, subscribe, do all those things. Leave us a love note because we're cute and you love us. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Live with Trish and Kylie. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.